They say that there's only two things in life that are certain, death and taxes, but I think there's really only one that's certain, because I know some people who don't pay taxes, so it seems like the only thing that's certain in our life is death. In this episode, we're going to have a conversation about the only certainty that we have in our lives and why it's worth spending some time thinking about death. My name's Gareth, and welcome to another episode of the Fathers, Sons, Brothers podcast, where we have courageous conversations with inspiring men that encourage you to be a legendary lover and a purpose-driven leader. I'm hanging out today with Lenerd Louw, and we're having a conversation about something kind of important that the word itself, we were talking just offline before we turned on here, is a pretty loaded topic. And maybe you just want to share why we perhaps don't spend so much time thinking about death and your relationship with it. There's been quite a lot of death around you in your life recently. How does it land in your system, and why is it important to talk about death?
Yeah, as we were saying, it's such a loaded word. And it is, I think, because people avoid it. People don't want to think about death. Just putting it out there, it's like quite powerful. I know what's passionate for me at the moment is that the more I think about death, the more I live. And so that's why I'm passionate about talking about it. Because the moment I think about death, then it puts me in the present moment. So I just see the opportunity for people to connect with death, even though it's a scary topic and they are hesitant to go there. It will actually bring them much closer to living in the present moment. And my experience with death has been, I suppose 10 years ago it goes. Well, my dad died. It's more like 6 years ago actually, 2018, 2019. But by then I was on a 4 or 5 year journey, the spiritual journey around the world. And in that 5 years, my relationship with death changed. If he had died 5 years earlier, I think would have been devastated, Ruth. Would have really hit me hard. And when he actually died, after me being on this journey for 5 years and changing my whole relationship with death, and I didn't do it on purpose, it just happened with all the inner work I was doing and the spiritual work I was doing and the expansion and even in the sexuality space, spirituality space. So when he died, it was a different experience. I was still sad, but I wasn't devastated. I was 78, and I just looked at it as, hey man, I had a beautiful journey with him what was I then? I don't know, about 50s, I was so blessed to have had this journey with this guy. And I remember driving up the west coast here in South Africa in the desert, and the desert dropped into the Atlantic Ocean there, and this pretty stunning world. And I was doing a steak in an iron pan there, and it was like a week later after he died. And I just felt him in the room. He was there. I felt him in the space, and I just deep realization, even though he's not in the physical world with me anymore, he's still there. And that was profound for me. So there was sadness, but there wasn't this massive loss. There wasn't this devastation. And maybe just another quick example, if I may, is that one of the brothers of our Mankind group, he did the Mankind 2 years ago, and we meet every 2 weeks, once a month. And last week, as close to New Year's Day, got a message on the group, Derek died 4 a.m. in his sleep. And yes, there was loss and there was sadness. And I could see in the group, some guys totally devastated. And it was horrific news. Brother, it's not horrific news for me. And I actually had a lot of judgment around that.
Like you're judging yourself because you're not feeling something.
Exactly. I had a little bit with my dad, and not so much now, because I've had now quite a few people in between dying. In the beginning, I thought, am I not empathic enough? Is my empathy level low? But I know it's not, because I'm really, all my centers, gene keys, human desire are open, apart from my sacral and root chakra. All my others are open. I feel things super intensely. So I went through this process of a little bit of judgment. Am I just a bad oak that don't give a shit? And I realized, no, I'm not. I really feel things intensely.
Yeah.
It's just my relationship with death has changed. And for me, it's not the end of the world. It's just the one thing that is a given is change, and change happens the whole time in our lives. And one thing, as you say, it's a given is death. And so that has changed for me, and that I feel the sadness and the loss, and definitely will honor him next week when we get together in our session. But it comes more from a place of liveliness and joy rather than just full sadness. Exactly, celebration. And not just trying to be all positive. I really feel it.
Yes. Yeah. It's like we don't, in the West, make a lot of space for it. If someone passes away, no one sort of goes into the room and then they take the body away. Someone else comes and does it, and then they process it. And maybe there's an open casket, which is kind of a strange thing to have happen, but sometimes that's not even true. And then that's really it. There's a service or something like that. But I never really was exposed to death growing up. I mean, my grandfather died and people transitioned around me. But it wasn't until I got to India for the first time and I went to Varanasi, and this is where they take their dead and they celebrate them and then burn them out in the open in front of a whole lot of people. And it's the first time I'd really seen death so open and out there in a way that we don't have it in the West. And it really shifted for me. I'm getting goosebumps as I talk about it. It really shifted for me the realization that, this is the one thing that we can be sure of in our lives. Nothing else is certain. The one thing I can be certain that's going to happen to you and to me is that we're going to transition into another form. However you hold the conversation, this great mystery of what's on the other side, it's coming. And it, like you said, it's the one thing that makes every single day precious, because when we sit with this piece of we're not promised another breath. We're not promised tomorrow. And so, really extracting and being super present in our lives today is the magic of celebrating and being with death. And I really saw it there, and I was like, wow, I think the West, my world that I grew up in Johannesburg and here in South Africa, could probably learn something from this seemingly certain thing. And like you said, they're not grieving. It's grieving and feeling and being with it while also celebrating. And they have a belief system that I think is anchored in reincarnation, or people coming back and revisiting, or even going to another state or another plane, depending on what you believe. We've got to a world where we don't necessarily have a lot that we believe in anymore. And like if you're an atheist, when the lights go out, that's it. That's kind of a hard way to live. And so death would then feel pretty scary and something you want to try and avoid. You're trying to avoid the only certainty that you have in your life. It's so interesting.
Yeah, I think the avoidance is a big part of it. It's just avoiding it and not thinking about it or talking about it. I don't think one needs to do massive, deep work or spiritual work or shadow work. It's actually just meditating about it. Well, not even meditating, just thinking about it and talking about it like this conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
And just talking to my kids, oh, guys, if I die, whatever this, or, or sisters. And, I think just bringing it part of of being alive.
Yeah. One of my teachers was talking about, death is inherently part of everything. It's part of nature. It's ongoing. Everything is in permanent transformation and moving into something else. And, there's the analogy that they had when they shared with me the story, like the big redwood that dies and falls over in the forest, like it's not even properly hitting the ground yet, and its roots are already coming up to the surface, and new life is starting to form in this place, and the energy doesn't die, it just continues to change shape. So there's this continuation that happens, and death as a theme where the physical body dies is one thing, but in many ways the West also has this over-identification with summer and beginnings. We're so excited about new relationships and summer coming, and we don't want to go into winter, and we don't want to look at death, and we don't want our relationships to end. It has to all be forever, and when it happens, it's like, let's get over that and on to the next thing. But there's so much magic in that celebration of using the time of death, and I've just been through multiple deaths in my life, a relationship ending, a whole timeline changing, the world that I lived in Guatemala, the location that I lived in, that all changed. And in many ways, it was multiple deaths for me, and the death of the identity. And the more gracefully you hold that, the more you get to really reflect and celebrate the previous chapter, and then hold the space for what wants to emerge and what wants to grow out of death, because it's only through death that something else can emerge.
Sure. Yeah, and then to, as you say, drop into the happiness, but also to drop in sadness, it's, we want to have all the positive and the happiness part, but not the sadness part. And, to also be in a moment when you're sad. I found then sitting in that, whether it's related to death or just generally speaking, and out of that, some happiness flows. So as I'm talking, I'm thinking, the same with death. I think the more you think about it, the more it's actually becoming less of a fucking big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You really start befriending it. It feels good.
Yeah. In that sitting with it and being with the grief is, for me, also the not avoiding of those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So as I grieved these multiple deaths of the relationship ending and coming back to South Africa after Guatemala, like I really allowed myself to feel. And the more I grieved, it's like it actually gave my heart more expansion to be able to make space for more love. That was how I was experiencing. And we had lots of conversations about this, about relationship endings. And in the past, I've wanted to just avoid it and be like, I don't want to feel this. And so I would avoid it, or I would distract myself with being super busy, or, get away from it and just try and not feel it. But it's like, it doesn't go anywhere. That grief needs to be felt and expressed and moved through the body. And that's something that we talk about a lot, like emotional release in our work. But just super important for people listening to this to recognize that, when something finishes, the death of a loved one or the death of a relationship or the death of a timeline or the death of something, the grief that you feel is not a problem. Yeah. It's an opportunity for you to reflect on just how much that meant to you. Yeah, something that you loved is no longer part of your life, and just be with that and really allow that grief to be an anchor point for the celebration.
Yeah, also crack your heart open.
Exactly.
So more love can come in. I love what you're saying. So death is not about just the body dying, relationship ending, there's so many other stuff. Job or career or whatever ending. To feel the grief, the heart cracks open. The Lenerd Cohen song, let the light go in. So the more that opens it, more it expand our potential for love and for capacity for really feeling the joy in life. I love that.
How did you get to the space of being okay with death? There was a time when you didn't. I know you went on your journey, but maybe you can tee up like what were some of those things that shifted your relationship with death, that shifted inside you, and maybe then we can get into how we want to support other men to come to this place of creating a space to really sit with the theme of death.
Yeah, I'll jump into that. Yeah, I think a big part of it was thinking about it, reading about it, feeling it. In 2013, 14, also played a big role. Some of his teachings and stuff on it, and more the spiritual journey, I think, really made me realize. Gary Zukav's Seed of the Soul, so many stuff that came. It wasn't just learning stuff; it was remembering. And I read that Seed of the Soul, and it was like just a remembrance of, wow, man, we come here. This is a journey of learning, this Earth school. It's in some ways quite a tough school of learning compared to maybe other places, other planets, other lives, but it's also this beautiful place with nature, food, and lovemaking, I would say. And for me, it was really just the realization that we for such a short time, and that it's indefinite, our lives and the galaxy, universe, everything, and it became less serious for me. I really dropped into the essence of living, and that I came here to learn and have fun. And if it ends, I'll probably go some other place and learn and have fun. Yeah. Maybe to the same place, maybe to another place, maybe a little bit of a tougher place, maybe a easier place. I don't know. So it became for me, Gareth Brew, it became for me much more of our existence on this planet is not so fucking serious. It's kind of, I was 8 years old. It was so interesting. I was 8 years old. I was telling someone the other day, I walked out into the garden. And prior to that, I was a pretty serious young boy. 5, 6, 7, I laughed, man. I was very serious. And one day I walked into the garden of my parents' house, and I just had this deep realization. Wow, this is just a game. Yeah. It's not so serious. We come here just to play. And it's not to say there's not going to be suffering, and it's not to making it anything light or, like irreverent, or like silly. But it was a realization. It took so much pressure off me at the age of 8. Yeah. I was like, fuck. And I've been kind of through my life every now and then I forget it a bit, and I go back to the boy of 8 that went, oh fuck, this is a game, man.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Exactly.
So then that was not so serious anymore. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing, that's also true for me on my journey. It's been up until I went on my own journey of awakening, and my spiritual path was I didn't have time in my life to sit and think about death. I was so busy. I was caught up in the rat race. And maybe something that I want to share and invite the listeners of this into is something that we're co-creating, which is called Soul Safari. And Soul Safari is really a transformational experience for men, where myself and Lenerd are going to be guiding 10 men through an 11-day experience that includes some time to slow down and to get out of your normal routines and habits, and to sit with various themes in your life. One of them is around this topic of death, because when you contemplate death, you really start to think about what's important in your life. And part of that is slowing down and taking you out of your normal routines and habits and the busyness of your life and the never-ending stream of notifications that come through your device, and an opportunity for us to sit as men in nature, to slow down, to observe death in what we're going through in our lives, but also in the natural world around us, and to sit with this theme of death and really use it as an anchor point to see what's really meaningful for you in the next phase of your life. And yeah, maybe you want to touch a couple pieces that I didn't hit there on why we're creating this and the magic of men sitting together in nature.
Yeah, well, I wish I had that 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when my journey started.
Yeah.
I had to find my own way around the world, many countries, 5 years, or
Yeah.
and trying to find places where I could do that without, knowing where to go, really. So it really lights me up that we're doing it, because it's an opportunity for men to really have permission, not that they need our permission, but have permission just to slow, as we say, slow the fuck down and put the devices away, have 11 days in nature, 3-4 days in the Cederberg here north of Cape Town, and then flying into the Kruger Park,
Yeah.
A massive park, is bigger than the size of Israel, with elephants and lions and all of that, and without any digital stuff. And sitting there and looking at life, and maybe even see a lion killing a roadbok or a springbok or so.
Yeah.
And, being in that experience of death right there, and also slow down where you can really feel yourself. You can feel what's important to you, and you can feel your imminent death.
Sit with it to realize the preciousness of what's here. Yeah. Bro, this conversation has been amazing. For those of you who are interested in finding out about Soul Safari, the first one's happening this March, 2026, but we're going to be doing this again. I can feel there's a lot of energy around this. We're super excited to co-create it because, it just really lines up with things that we're passionate about, which is slowing down, taking men into nature to reconnect with ourselves and the natural world around us. And then the healing starts to happen by itself. There's nothing that we do. The natural world, and you're slowing down, your body starts to support you. So we'll leave some details about Soul Safari in the link below this video, and maybe our next episode should be slow the fuck down.
I think so. Let's do that.
Like my brother, I love co-creating with you, man. Thank you for the man that you are, and for making the time to show up for this, bro.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.